Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mega Cebu 2019 Candidates Forum for the senatorial candidates. Claro Haita! Now, here's your host, a Mega Cebu advocate, Miss Caroline Ballesteros.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. You may be seated now, sirs. Okay, mayong hapon. To all of those who are here in Buttonbrook, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Buttonbrook, correct? Okay, Hall of the University of San Carlos. Thank you very much for welcoming us here, and to all of the 3.2 million voters who are watching today in their TV sets. Cebu has 3.2 million voters, 60% of which are found in the Metro Cebu area. That's 7 cities and 6 municipalities. Pero I'm not alone here karong hapon. I actually have a partner, the very beautiful voice you heard earlier. Please welcome my long-lost, actually, my partner on TV for so many years, Dante Luzon.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Dante.
Good afternoon. It's a great honor for me to be here with my partner. We've been together since
Way back when. Okay.
You children probably don't know what the show is all about because that was way back about 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Yes. So if you are like mga millennials, you wouldn't know us. But earlier, as I was out there sa canteen, the mga tinderas, they were kind of older. When they saw me, they recognized me. I said, yeah, kung medyo older gani, they would recognize us, no?
Try to ask your parents na lang
Okay.
who
Anyways,
we are.
yeah.
Anyway, let's get down to business.
This is our third episode. Okay, we've already had 2 last week. We actually have this every Monday and Friday. The
Yeah.
entire month of March, we're dedicating to giving the chance to our senatorial candidates to tell the people who they are and what they do, what their platforms are.
Correct.
So that our voters, all of you are voters here, right? Yes. So that they would basically have an idea of who to vote for.
And we'll just but definitely would ask them, is Mega Cebu part of their platform of government?
Yes.
Because this is what Mega Cebu Forum is all about.
Right.
We have to really get the, the promise from our candidates on how to, or what to do, or how to improve Mega Cebu, just in
Right.
case they will win.
Because we really need a push. Actually, Mega Cebu, for the sake of our candidates, it started in 2011. Okay, 7 cities and 6 municipalities with the province came together and formed this group called the Metro Cebu Development and Coordinating Board. It's MCDCB, and we actually have passed a bill in Congress named the Mega Cebu Development Authority, so that we can really push the vision of the Cebuanos to have a wholesome, advanced, vibrant, equitable, and sustainable Cebu in the future.
And maybe we can ask the candidates later on if we cannot support that bill.
Yes.
Because
Actually,
we need that.
we have a symbol of our vision. It's the bugsay. Aside from the fact that Cebu is an island, okay, and then you need to paddle your way. But if you notice in the logo here, there's a bugsay. Bugsay because if everyone, well, this is from the bugsay philosophy of one of our champions who already passed away, Mr. Bobby Aboitis. He was one of those who started this. He believes that if everyone on the bangka will just hold their bugsay together and paddle in the same direction. Okay, we will be able to go to our destination faster.
Because
help
Mega
each
Cebu is making waves nowadays,
Yes,
ladies and
making
gentlemen.
waves.
That's why we need this.
Right.
Correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and later, towards the end, we're going to have our senatorial candidates sign as a commitment to support the vision of Mega Cebu. All right? Without forcing them, of course. It has to be voluntary. Okay?
Word of caution, don't use that for hazing and initiation, okay?
Before we proceed, Dante, we would like to acknowledge and thank our organizers for putting this together. Actually, In Mega Cebu, we've always had a Mega Cebu Candidates Forum. We had one in 2013, another one in 2016, and this time again. And we actually this is the first time that we invited senatorial candidates.
Right.
In the past, we just
have
invited the local
the
candidates.
gubernatorial,
And mayoral candidates, yes. So now, we're giving them a chance to present their platforms. We're also inviting pala mga party lists.
Incidentally, for the whole month of March, we had the senatorial candidates. But next month, April, we'll focus on the gubernatorial and vice gubernatorial,
in
mayoralty,
April.
local.
Yes. We will now be introducing the first part of the program, which is...
First, ladies and gentlemen, this forum is not complete, of course, without the representation from the Commission on Elections. So to give his welcome remarks, please welcome the Election Officer 4, assigned at the Office of the Provincial Election Supervisor from the COMELEC, Attorney Ferdinand Gohilde.
Okay, yes, mayong hapon sa tanan. And today we're going to have another round of Candidates Forum. And we are thankful that Mega Cebu, as well as the other organizers, have made this possible to give our candidates, especially the senatorial candidates, a forum where they can advance their platform of government. Well, they say that a free ballot is essential in a democracy. Free ballot means that you choose according to your conscience, free from any vitiated consent, meaning that you're not going to be bought and you're not going to be intimidated in choosing the next leaders of our country. But not only this free ballot means that you're free from any vitiated consent, it also means that it must be an informed judgment. Exactly why today it is very relevant that we're given an opportunity to hear the platform of government of our candidates. And for our senatorial candidates, welcome to the province of Cebu, especially to the University of San Carlos. Insofar as we're going to limit our debate and discussion on the issues and advocacies of the senatorial candidates, you are in the right place because not only are you in the province of Cebu, which has the most number of registered voters in the country at 3.2 million voters, you are also in the University of San Carlos, where the students are best known for being critical and inquisitive. So please expect them to ask very incisive questions later on. Again, welcome and good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. Now, to explain to us the mechanics of the forum and guidelines, we'd like to call on the Chair of the Department of Political Science, School of Law and Governance of the University of San Carlos, Ms. Brenette Abrenica.
Maayong hapon sa tanan. Welcome to our candidates who have chosen this particular schedule. We will have more of these, as already mentioned earlier, in the coming days. Ground rules for our Claro Haita Mega Cebu Candidates Forum. We have two sets, one for the candidates and the other one for our participants or audience. For our candidates, the forum shall provide a platform for both candidates and voters to engage with each other and to allow the discernment of voters as to who to choose during the election. The format, however, is not the debate, and we will not be tolerating grandstanding and overexposure of selected candidates or those candidates who chose specific schedules. This means to say that for candidates, when you answer the question, please do direct them to our host and our moderators and not directly to your fellow candidates. Candidates must address the question, what can you do, what can you offer, and what can you do for Cebu province in general and Metro Cebu in particular, considering that we are experiencing rapid urbanization. So this is something that is very peculiar for Cebu. We are not just any city outside of Manila, but we are in the forefront of urbanization. And that is why we need Mega Cebu to pursue its agenda. Campaign videos and banners will not be allowed in the forum. Should you have PowerPoint presentations, it is to be limited to 5 slides only, and it should be something relevant to that of your speech. Candidates are instructed to engage with each other with respect and dignity, and speakers are not allowed to throw insults and insinuations to each other, especially if it may possibly trigger heated discussions. Rules on supporters. A limited number of campaign supporters will be allowed in the hall. Should you bring your band, no? At the same time, you are not allowed to use foul language or address the audience or that of your fellow candidates using foul language, our moderators will be reprimanding you. Should there be a repetition of the use of foul language, we may politely ask you to leave the forum. Candidates are to engage with each other, as I said, with respect and dignity. Rules on supporters may repeat that you are, there will be a limited number of campaign supporters who may join the delegation of the candidates, and that you are not allowed to loiter anywhere in the university campus for purposes of campaigning. So this is the only platform, and we have to engage each other appropriately. For audience and participants, we are expecting a multi-stakeholder audience. So we have representatives from the academe, both faculty, we also have administrators, we have students, and we have staff. We also have from the different sectoral organizations, from labor, transport, urban poor, women, among others. As stakeholders, our primary question to each of the candidates will have to be what they can do for us in Cebu, province in general, and Metro Cebu in particular, in order to ensure that issues of all sectors are tackled, discussed, and be transformed into priority agenda questions from the audience. You may write your questions in pieces of paper that our ushers and usherettes will be distributing in a while. And questions will be checked by the screening committee at the back. We will be paraphrasing questions or combining them or shelving others that may be repeated. No foul language will be tolerated from the participants or audience in both actual questions and random comments. If you may observe, there are ushers around the hall bringing the label "Silence, please," and please respond to that appropriately as well. Those who will be continuing the use of foul language, for example, or untolerated noise, you will be ushered outside of the hall. Those who will be disturbing the session in one way or the other will be reprimanded, and if failure to heed to that particular reprimand, you will be politely asked to leave the hall. So at this particular point, with those guidelines and ground rules mentioned, let us already start our afternoon with discussions and engagement with our candidates. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Renette Abranica, the Chair of the Department of Political Science, School of Law and Governance of the University of Santa.
Okay, it's now time to introduce our candidates. Right, so we will start.
So we request the candidates, as we call you, sir, please join us here on stage. We have candidate number 1, ladies and gentlemen, representing the Labor Party, our first senatorial candidate, Attorney Marcelino Arias.
Here, sir. Yes. Candidate number 2, representing the Kilusang Bagong Lipunan, Attorney Larry Gadon.
Candidates traveled all the way from their respective areas of responsibility just to be here with us personally this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, our next candidate, we have from the United National Alliance, Danilo Roleda.
And the last but not the least, representing the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino, Antonio Butch Valdez.
So let's give a big round of applause to our 4 senatorial candidates in today's Mega Cebu Candidates Forum.
So we will start now with their opening statements. Each of them are given 3 minutes to give their opening statement. We will start with Attorney Arias.
Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Marcelino Arias from the Labor Party.
Mayong hapon. Ang akong kaliwat, gikan sa Cebu. Pero, na-assemble ko sa Agusan. Now I am a Manobo by blood and by birth. I have Chinese blood. Family Bong. But I grew up in Manila. I left Mindanao when I was grade 6. I studied at Isabelo de los Reyes Elementary School in Tondo. Houseboy ako. From grade 6 up to high school, houseboy po. First year college, shine boy na lang ako. I was out of school for long 7 years. Matod pa sa amo, kung anay kwarta, tungha. Kung way kwarta, undang. That's why I became a lawyer at the age of 33. Now I will be 81 this coming August 6. I am a lawyer, a practicing lawyer. I've been practicing law for the last 45 years. And I am a pastor. I have been pastoring a Bible Baptist Church for the last more than 65 years. As Rizal said, ang pag-asa ng bayan ay kabataan. O ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan. Eh paano kami matatanda? Paano kami? Kanina, mukhang itinatago pa ang edad ng dalawang kasama natin dito eh.
Dito.
Di ba? Paano kami matatanda? Meron pa kami magagawa? Meron pa akong magagawa, oh. And I am also a farmer. I planted trees in Montalban, Rizal. And I have 25,000 standing mahogany trees and nara trees. I have 5 children. 3 of them are lawyers. These 3 lawyers, they are married to 2 lawyers. One of them, my in-laws, is one of them is a judge. My second child is now an applicant sa Court of Appeals. My children are all millionaires, except the doctor. Kasi hanggang ngayon, naninirahan pa siya sa amin. Salamat po.
Thank you.
Pinakamahirap, yung doktor. At sa aming pamilya, ako ang pinakamahirap.
Salamat po.
Thank you po. That's Attorney Marcelino Arias, our first senatorial candidate.
Okay, we now move on to our second candidate, Attorney Larry Gadon.
Thank you. I am Attorney Larry Gadon, Lorenzo Larry Gadon. Actually, among us senatorial candidates here, I am the only one who is coming directly from the private sector. I am not involved in any government work. The reason why I'm running is because of the saying that the penalty for not participating in politics is that you will be governed by your inferiors. Lately, we have been ruled by incompetent leaders, and all we do is complain. So, sa halip na mag-complain tayo, the thing to do is join politics. And if I will win, which I believe that I'm going to win, no, I will serve as an example and inspiration among you young people that even if you are not artista, even if your names are not political names, even if you don't have money, you can win an election as long as you will espouse the style, the advocacies of Attorney Larry Gadon. No? That's it. Now, I gladly accepted the invitation here in Cebu because Cebu is a very successful region. And in fact, if ever federalism would be implemented, isa ang Cebu sa pinakaunang-una na magko-qualify. Because you are almost an independent and self-sufficient province. And do you know the reason for this? It's because you have a very high industry. And a lot of investors are coming here because people here are matalino and marurunong at magagaling. In fact, if I say that the people of Cebu are dili bugo or hindi bobo, as I have been saying in my campaign sorties, meron akong basihan dyan. Because the reason why investors are coming to Cebu is because, aside from the nice place, of course, 30% of the workforce here that belong to the age of 25 to 40 are college graduates and or academically trained. And do you know that the literacy rate here is higher than the national rate in Cebu? So I'd like to congratulate you, mga Cebuanos, mga dili ka mo bugo, no? And if I'm going to win, of course, I will dedicate myself to help Cebu.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ang atong next senatorial candidate, ladies and gentlemen, from the United Nationalist Alliance, another lawyer by profession, Attorney Danilo Roleda.
Mayong hapon sa iyong tanan. You can stand here. I am Attorney Dan Roleda. I am from Calbayog City, Samar, and also from the city of Manila. I graduated AB Economics cum laude from UST in 1977. I also graduated Bachelor of Laws magna cum laude valedictorian in 1981, also in UST. I passed the bar in 1981. I placed 27th. I became councilor of the city of Manila, representing the Sampaloc Santa Mesa area from 1992 to 1998. I also became the president of the Philippine Councilors League in 1995 to 98. I co-founded also the National Movement of Young Legislators in 1992. I became congressman in 1998 up to 2001. Then I was also appointed as the presidential advisor for foreign investments by then President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo in 2001 to 2010. 2010, I became a special advisor to then President Pinoy or Ninoy Aquino, and then Vice President Joe Dubinay, when he ran for president, he took me in as his deputy campaign manager. Then, as history will show it, President Duterte won the election because we also worked together. He got me as his special advisor for special concern. I have been serving the Philippine government, the public service for the past 28 years. I'm running to become a senator because I'm in love with the Philippines. We have to stop the bickering, the fighting, the nonsense, that instead of changing the colors of our shirt because of political affiliation, we need to have a change of heart. We have to move forward, become one united Filipino family. And I read the Mega Cebu Development Plan that is very important, and I loved it. It's beautiful, and I will be part of the implementation. But together with the Mega Cebu Plan is that we should also cater and answer the needs of every Filipino family on their basic needs. For any kind of infrastructure development plan to happen, we have first to feed the basic needs of every Filipino family. And these are in education. For example, college students, those below 18 years old, must be able to work together with the same pay as those with 18 years old and above. We should be able to give them young entrepreneurship or young cooperative opportunities so that they can earn while they are schooling. And I want to implement the free nursery kindergarten from 3 years old to 5 to be part of the formal education, because we now have free elementary, high school, and college, but we don't have free kindergarten and nursery. So the daycare center will become part of the formal education. And this is also about food security, distribution, decent homes, health, barangay, so that we'll be able to deploy doctors and nurses in the barangays, and that we also provide opportunity that every basic family would have their basic needs. Thank you. Dan Roleda.
Thank you very much.
Attorney Roleda.
Last but not the least, the representative from the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino, at Antonio Butch Valdez.
Good afternoon. My name is Butch Valdez, and I hail from Luzon. My parents came from Pampanga, and I grew up in Metro Manila. But I have to tell you that my firstborn was born right here in Cebu, in Perpetual Soccer, and he's right here in front of me. Please wave to the crowd for your fellow Cebuanos. His name's Itos. Okay, I was here at that time because I was head of a branch of our accounting firm. My professional life was spent mostly in servicing as auditor, a lot of clients. As managing partner of the company that I headed, we were servicing about 2,000 and 3,500 audit clients, which bred, of course, my familiarity with finance and economics. Towards the end of my professional life, I found myself, of course, in the as Undersecretary of Education during the time of Mr. President Erap Estrada. That got cut short. But before that, I was already organizing different movements. The first movement that I organized was called Save the Nation Movement. And the reason for this is because at that time, knowing how the economy was being pushed towards and facing, I realized that the economy was going to go on a downturn. When I mean economy, I don't mean GDP. I mean quality of life of many, many people. Why? Because we were transformed from a producer, what would have been a producer economy, into a service economy. So the Save the Nation, the Save the Nation organization that I headed was focused, therefore, in moving back the country from a service economy, which means call centers, caregivers, and so on and so forth, back towards agro-industrial development. Something which I think, to some part, your Mega Cebu program is attuned to, and I was happy to watch it and I immediately identified with it. The other organizations that I started were Solidarity for Sovereignty. Sovereignty is a major issue. This different from nationalism, different from independence, but sovereignty. Sovereignty as a concept resides in the people, and every state gets that sovereignty only from its people. That whole concept we had with the Solidarity for Sovereignty, which is based on truth, justice, peace, and development. Justice cannot be had without basis of truth.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Peace will not be there without justice, and so will development. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Alright, thank
Mr.
you.
Valdez.
Okay, so you heard our candidates. You've basically known them a little bit better with what they said about where they're from, what their backgrounds are. But I would just like to just say this before we start, Dante, because
Okay.
I'm so thrilled. I mean, intrigued with because when Attorney Larry Gadon came up, and even when we announced his name last week, the students clapped. It's because of the Bobo thing, no? You know what's Bobo, actually? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So I think it's really best to give candidates who are not known a chance, no?
Yeah, and the people here clapped when Attorney Gadon says, hindi naman tayo bobo dito. We're all intelligent people,
Yes.
correct?
Okay.
Right.
So, so this is your chance to really vote for people who may not be known, but they have hearts to serve.
That is precisely the objective of our Mega Cebu Candidates Forum, because there are a lot of candidates who are skilled and talented and have good governance, but yet they lack publicity, and the people in other areas still don't know them. So this is the right floor, the right venue for them, and the right exposure.
A little bit of summary. See, attorney here is actually Attorney Arias, right? Is the second Baptist pastor who's running. We had one last Monday. And there's also, you're also with the Labor Party? The third from the Labor Party that has guested in our forum.
And the last forum that we had
We
two
had
candidates who are from the Visayan region.
Yes.
And now we also have one here in the person of Attorney Roleda, who's from Samar.
Okay, so first question. Kumusta na po ang kampanya? How has it been? Where have you been? And where are you going next? We'll ask all of you po.
Nakalibot na po ako sa buong Mindanao, dito sa Bisaya, diyan sa Negros, sa Panay, at saka sa Eastern Visayas, Leyte at Samar. At saka sa Pangasinan, Ilocos Norte, Cagayan. At saka sa Metro Manila, of course.
Is it your first time to run?
Hindi po, noong 1992, isa po ako sa kandidato sa pagkasenador under Doy Laurel. Talo ho kami lahat.
Okay. I just wanna say this again. Dante and I were making bulong-bulong ganina. Pareha ka siya gnaw ni Alvin Garcia, no?
Yeah, when he was talking there, I whispered to Carol, he looks like Alvin Garcia.
Alvin Garcia is a former mayor
our former
of Cebu City.
mayor.
Former mayor of Cebu City.
Kay Attorney Gadon tayo. Attorney,
Yes, Attorney Gadon.
how's the campaign trail naman?
Yes, I am running a very successful campaign. In fact, I'm sure a lot of you here are opening my Facebook. And anywhere I go, I've been to Baguio, to Cebu, and twice here in Cebu, and in other places of the country. And talaga namang ang tao ang sumusugod sa akin. I do not practice yung hakot, and I don't join the other candidates. And in fact, I've even been to Hong Kong, and from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., our OFWs were coming to me for their selfies and the kwentuhan. And in fact, even yesterday, we had a live coverage of my visit in SM City, Cebu. Makikita nyo naman doon talaga pinagkakaguluhan ako ng tao kahit hindi ako artista.
Salamat.
Mukhang artista lang.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on now to Attorney Roleda.
Yes, my campaign has been very inspiring so far. And every day really is a prayer. When I wake up in the morning, I pray to God and say, God, fill up my day. I'm here to obey you. You want me to serve our people, the country, then I am here. But please plan the day for me. And it's been a miracle every day. And my day is always full. I've been going around the country. I've been to all over Luzon besides Mindanao because I've started actually 12 months to introduce myself because I'm not known. Although I have been 28 years in public service, but when I was kasi councilor, congressman, cabinet member, I was camera shy. I did not want media interview because as a public servant, hindi dapat ako makilala kundi yung trabaho. In fact, when I was councilor, congressman, kabinete, I do not even get my salaries because I give it to institutions, foundations, and I don't allow my name to be put in any project. So hindi tuloy ako kilala. But God knows, everything is really an inspiring thing to do, and I am here to serve as a public servant. But still a lot of things to do, 2 months to go, and a lot to cover, but with faith and with all your support and prayers, we will make it. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Amen.
you.
Sir,
Yes.
Attorney Valdez.
Yes. Actually enjoying. I'm having a lot of fun in this campaign. I've never been in any campaign for myself before. I never ran for any public office. As you know, my life was as a professional has always been teaching or sharing whatever I know and doing service to the different business communities. Now, the reason I'm having fun, it's the first time I'm able to interact with people directly. This is the most fun part. Addressing this is, of course, all right. But talking to the different people, market vendors, students, ordinary people that we come across in our house-to-house campaign, talking to the students as to what is it that they want, and not debating but discussing the real problems they feel are that of the country.
Okay.
That's what I absorb.
All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Coach Valdez.
We will be asking you 4 questions, all the same. All of you will answer. Because we just want this out of the way. We've asked this in every episode, in every batch of candidates that we had. So we will just do this first.
This is the Miss Universe
Kind of questions.
Q&A.
Okay. So, and for this, because I know it's hard to explain something in just 1 minute, we will give you 90 seconds. So 1.5, Miss.
Alright.
90 seconds, Miss. Okay?
Can we adjust the
Alright.
timer?
Adjust. Okay. Your mic. Yeah, I'll give you this one. Can we have a
There.
mic here for Attorney Arias? One more.
Can we have another microphone
Yeah.
here, Ellie?
Okay. The first question po is, what is your stand on charter change to federalism? Are you in favor or not, and why? Let's start with you, Attorney Arias.
In favor po ako sa federalism. One, kasi lalapit ang gobyerno sa taong bayan. At sa kasalukuyan, imperial ang Manila. Napapabayaan ang ibang lugar ng ating bansa. Hanggang dyan lang po.
Okay, thank you. Very short
Okay.
and sweet. Attorney Larry.
Yes, I am in favor of charter change towards federalism and parliamentary. In fact, I am one of the lecturers of federalism. We go around the country to explain the benefits of federalism. Federalism will result to distribution of wealth among the regions of the country. Like for example, if Cebu is going to be federated, you will have your own decision on the funds that will be left to you instead of the usual allocation of 30% IRA. We have ideally envisioned a sharing of 70% for the local government or the federal government and only 30% for the national government. Now, with 70%, you will have more decision on what you're going to do with your funds. You will have a direct decision on your funds, and it will be, you will have a quick response to the needs of your constituents. That is why I am in favor of federalism.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Attorney Roleda.
Federalism is a very good concept, but it is not timely now. We need first to strengthen the structure of our political institutions, especially primarily on political dynasties. Otherwise, we will have families lording it over in the federal state. And we have problem with also peace and order in some areas. We have problem also with the NPAs, the Muslim rebels. We need to have solutions first and address these problems first so that we can have a successful federal system. We need first to strengthen our local government. So what I will do instead is that those workable provisions of the proposed federal law would be incorporated already in the local government code so that it will already be implemented and done and executed by the local governments. And then we have to address first the Mindanao problem on the, we just have passed the BARM, the new Bangsamoro law. Let's see how it will go. In fact, I was proposing instead to create the Federal Union of Muslim Mindanao so that every tribe, the Maranao, the Tausug, or those other tribes will have their own local government units that will be under the federal. But bottom line is, let's prepare for it. Let's not rush it, because otherwise it may become a failure because we are not ready fundamentally and the foundation. Thank you very much.
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm the head of the Katipunan Democraticum Filipino, of which even Larry is a member of. No? But we as a party have not taken any specific stand on federalism or parliamentarism. Why? Because we are seriously studying the real ramifications of what federalism might do now and in the future. And there are debates going on now on the pros and cons coming from the members of the party. However, my personal opinion on federalism is this. We must be careful that in the haste to change the form, we will forget the substance. Okay? The substance has to do with the quality of life of every Filipino in this country. No? What is it that's going to happen to each and every one of our people, not just now, but in the future? What is it good? What good is it going to do for them? No. We have to understand that, and it has to be economics. If that economic program is going to be accepted, whatever good it's going to be, no, then maybe we can look at changing the form in order to implement the good economic program. Let us be very careful. We might be changing clothes, but not changing what is inside ourselves, which is the substance. And this is what the direction of our debates are going on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now let's go to the next question. Again, we'll give our candidates 90 seconds to answer the question. This is again kind of humorous Q&A. We begin starting there with Mr. Valdez, then coming over here to Attorney Arias later on. Sir, anong stand nyo sa death penalty?
I am not an advocate of death penalty as a basic principle. However, when we're talking about mass murder, when we're talking about genocide, and I refer to what I consider the most heinous crime ever committed, I think, in our country, which is the Deng Vaxia scam. This was done by the previous administration, knowing fully well that if they inoculate a number of young children, 80% of them will be at risk, not just for the severe side effects, but possibly death. These people were told that that was the case, yet the instruction to give this, to inoculate 1 million children, was given. And I think these people will have to face the courts, all of them, no? From top to whoever else had implemented it. And if they are found to have maliciously decided this, knowing fully well that 80% of those that they have inoculated, so far it's about 830,000, are at risk of severe side effects, which, by the way, 25,000 of them are in the hospital now, and many of them are permanently blind, or death. I think I will reconsider my position on death penalty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Attorney Roleda?
I am against death penalty. I understand the anguish, the hate, the pain of every family who is victimized by the criminal. But then, I believe that life imprisonment is actually harsher than death. Because life imprisonment, as long as you put in all the security measures, make it really difficult for them, that would really be a big suffering for them, no? And but then if life kasi is only, we are told when we were a child that only God can take, and that no one should take a life. And these criminals, no matter how hardened they are, we cannot sin because they sinned. And it is difficult for us as victims, but we have to keep the faith. And we have to continue praying because we cannot be like them. So what we need to do is to put in place a very strict law on life imprisonment. But if you look back in the history, all our saints were also sinners. Even Saint Paul, the greatest apostle, was on the way to Damascus. Alam niyo ba, binabalatan niya noon ang mga Christians. Pinadrag niya hanggang sa magkapera-peraso. But on the way to Damascus, he met Jesus Christ. You know the story. And now he is the greatest apostle. So it's a difficult subject because it involves emotions. But bottom line for me is that we have to keep our faith. We do not sin because others sin. Because it happened, then if we believe in God and we have faith, then we leave it all, everything to God, and then the justice system takes its course. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Larry.
Yes. Anyway, Attorney Dan Roleda mentioned something about the Bible. No, even God in the Bible punished bad people. Ginunaw niya yung mundo because of the sinners. No, so kung titingnan nyo, kagaya ng recently, what happened to Christine Lee Sumilay of Silawan of Lapu-Lapu City. She was raped, she was murdered, and her face was skinned off, and her esophagus was taken out. And you will tell me that if the criminal is caught, you will place him in prison, and then the taxes that the parents are paying to the government will be used to feed the criminal. I don't believe that this is the kind of justice that we want. I am for death penalty on extreme cases. For heinous crimes, there should be death penalty. Even the most advanced countries like Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Singapore, they have this death penalty to prevent crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ikaw naman po, you're a Baptist pastor.
Ang sabi sa Bible,
Pastor ng Bible
the
Baptist.
soul that sinneth, it shall die. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. I am for death penalty sa mga heinous crimes. Kagaya ng binanggit ni Kagalang-Galang Gadon, nakita naman po natin yung babae, tinanggalan ng mukha, ni-rape pa, pinatay. Anong klaseng tao ito mga ito? Kung mayroong death penalty, mababawasan po ang gastos ng bayan. Isipin mo, ikukulong mo habang buhay, pakakainin mo habang buhay, may gwardiya pa. I am for death penalty.
Thank you, sir. In relation to that, in relation to penalizing criminals, what's your stand on lowering the age of criminal liability?
Sa akin, ako na ba?
Yes, sir.
Sa akin po, yung unang penalty, ibababa ho doon sa 12. Doon, kung may full discernment na, then lilitisin. Sa ngayon po, yung 13, 14, 15, hindi ako sangayon ho doon. Nahuli na ng rape, pakakawalan pa, sapagkat 16 anyos lang. So, I am for lowering the age of criminals.
Okay, criminal. Yes, Attorney Larry, ikaw po.
Susundan ko rin yung sinabi ni Kagalang-Galang na Atty. Mar Arias. Alam nyo ba nung 1935, 9 nga ang years old ang ano eh. Ang age of criminal responsibility. Tinaas lang yan nung after the 1935 Constitution. And now, you really cannot say that kids ranging from 12 to 15 are really innocent or ignorant. Mas matalino mga bata ngayon because of the information explosion or revolution. Nakakapanood sila ng TV, ng internet, lahat yan, nakikita nila. Mas matalino ang mga bata ngayon. So, kung age of discernment nilang naman, alam naman nila kung ano ang tama at mali. Alam nila bawal pumatay. Alam nila bawal magnakaw. Alam nila kung ano ang tama at mali. At ang mahirap pa dyan, ginagamit sila ng mga sindikato na magnakaw, magtulak ng droga para lamang na makalibre sila sa responsibility. In fact, if you will lower the age of responsibility, you are taking away these children from the clutches of the syndicates.
Okay.
No?
Thank you po. Attorney, Attorney Roleta.
I am for the lowering of the criminal liability to age 12. But we must look at it not as a punishment, but actually intervention of the state to the parents. Itong mga above 12 years old, mga pasaway na ito sa lipunan, at dapat tingnan ng mga magulang ito na matuwa sila na ito'y kinukuha ng ating pamalaan para alagaan instead na nasa kalsada. So ngayon kasi we cannot take them in because we have to set them free. If you lower the age, they have to be taken in into the Bahay Pag-asa. They're taught again to become useful citizens. They are guided psychologically, socially, tapos so that they become useful citizens again. Para ipaliwanag sa inyo, hindi naman yung punishment up to 18 years old eh. Pag sinabing lowering the age, pwede lang kunin ng pamalaan na hindi na sila sa kalsada. Pero hindi ibig sabihin ikukulong, kundi ilalagay sa Bahay Pag-asa. So it's not really a punishment but intervention. It's more of a rehabilitation. So that has to be made clear. Kasi kala natin kukulong eh. No, it's not that. In fact, we have separate facilities for youthful offenders. And they will only become liable if at the age of 18 there is no remorse or di sila nagbago, then that is where we impose the penalties. But before that, it's really more intervention. Kaya ang mga magulang dapat matuwa dahil tumutulong ang ating pamalaan upang arugain, alagaan at magbago ang kanilang mga anak through the Bahay Pag-asa.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you po. Sir Butch.
The problem is poverty. The reason we started thinking about lowering the age of the criminal responsibility of children is because a lot of children now who are growing up in the different squatter areas are now being used by either even the parents themselves or by others to create, to do certain criminal acts. They do not even know that it is a crime, but they will become, they will deliver a piece of packet of shabu to another for a few pesos. No? The problem is poverty. If there was anyone that is responsible for it, it is those economic managers that have created these conditions of poverty for our people. Now, having said that, we understand that there is this kind of situation, and parents no longer are raising their children. It's the environment that's raising their children. Us here, we're lucky. We have parents that saw to it that we will be good citizens. But these children, they don't have that luxury. That is why I agree, the state must go into an intervention. The state must help the parents rear their children, not as criminals, but to help rehabilitate them or to help direct them into becoming good citizens. There used to be a place called Welfareville in Mandaluyong that no longer functions as that. But before, this is where so-called criminally inclined children are being brought for rehabilitation.
Okay, thank you po, Sir Valdez. Now, after that, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to Cebu, Carol.
Yes.
Let's go back to here.
Yes.
Where we are.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you've experienced traffic in Cebu. Coming here, perhaps, and when you arrived from the airport coming here, I'm pretty sure there was traffic. Okay, and I'm also sure that there's traffic Manila. Manila's worse. Worse in Manila, no? So traffic. People are saying that Cebu is getting worse than Manila, but I don't think so. Mas maarang-arang
Are
pang
we
Cebu.
catching up with
We
Manila's
are
traffic problem?
catching up. We are catching up, but not the worst yet. But
Traveling
anyway,
from the airport would probably you have to spend 1 hour and a half going to the city from the airport?
yes, yes. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why the 7 cities and 6 municipalities came together, formed the Metro Cebu Development and Coordinating Board, or otherwise known as the Mega Cebu Program, so that the different government officials, the mayors, the governor, and all of the regional offices of the different national agencies, even NGOs, even business sector, the chambers, came together to try to find solutions to this mega traffic, mega baha, mega basura, and everything. So my question is, are you supportive of this collaboration framework wherein the private sector, the businesses, and the public sector come together to help find long-term solutions to the problems that we are now facing? If it's a yes or no, if you're supportive. And follow-up question is, what do you think is the importance of long-term planning? Let's start with you, sir.
Sa ganing akin po, 101% supportive po ako doon. Kasi po, hindi lamang sa Cebu. Kung ako magiging senador, at parang nakikita ko na magiging senador ako, lahat ng mga kinakailangan ng mga syudad, Davao, Manila, Cebu, Dumaguete, Bacolod, Iloilo, nangangailangan po yan ng pag-asikaso ng mga local candidates. Kagaya ng ginawa dito sa Metro Cebu. Kaya kung ako po ay magiging senador, tutulong po ako doon sa pamamagitan ng pagbigay ng pundo, sapagkat kailangan ng pundo sa improvement o development. Yan po ang gagawin ko.
Thank you. So
Thank
you
you,
are
sir.
supportive of the program, Attorney Arias? Yes.
Thank you po.
Yes.
Attorney Larry.
I'm just paraphrasing. Yes.
Ah,
yes.
yeah, okay.
Attorney
Sorry.
Larry.
Yeah, supportive ako dyan ng program na yan. In fact, alam nyo ba na yung development talaga ng Cebu, there is a plan already from 1981 to year 2000. And ito na nga actually yung ginagamit ninyong blueprint ngayon. It was done during the Marcos time. And in fact, dapat yung experience ng Metro Manila, dapat matakot dyan ng Cebu. Do you know that the light rail system in Metro Manila was first introduced in 1985 during the time of President Marcos? The first LRT or light rail system in Asia is Philippines. And there were 7 routes. Hindi lang natapos kasi napaalis si Marcos. Ngayon, alam nyo ba yung Hong Kong, no? 1989 lang nagpatayo ng LRT o yung MTR na tinatawag. Nauna tayo. So at that time, meron na talagang na-envision na yung plano dito sa Cebu na dapat yung mass transport system ay gawin na. Actually, I was talking to a businessman in Cebu, a big businessman here. Ang problema pala dito, hindi nagkakasundo-sundo yung mga cities and yung mga leaders niyan kung ano yung system dito, kung ano yung system sa kabila, kung ano yung system doon. Gusto nila may kanya-kanya. So siguro yun ang dapat na ibabutin na lang itong Metro Cebu Development counts body. Yun ang dapat na asikasuhin. Because if 30 years ago, na iplano na yun sa Metro Manila, ngayon, dito sa Cebu, medyo late na. So, ngayon, dapat madaliin yan na ma-implement yung mass transport system dito sa Cebu.
Attorney Roleda?
Yeah. I have read thoroughly the Mega Cebu Development Plan, and it's really a very beautiful plan, and they are all doable. But it has to be hastened. Dapat speed up implementation through PPP and the unsolicited. Ibig sabihin, unsolicited, where you propose on your own without the government acting on it, but you initiate so that the government will act on it. Okay, solicited, if the government will be bidding it out and offer it to possible investors or contractors. But the bottom line really here is the political will to make it happen. Kasi that's why the election is very important. The plan is there. It is just waiting to be implemented. And we, of course, fully support it because it is needed. It will not only help Cebu, but the entire region of the Visayas. Because if Cebu grows, if Cebu becomes prosperous, then it also helps all the neighboring provinces and all the other regions. So the problem, as mentioned by Atty. Gadon, really is the politicians, the interest of many local officials, because that is the problem, because we have to go through them, the permits, or these people that are involved in the implementation. So this election is important that you have to choose a candidate that you think will not stop or be a hindrance to the Mega Cebu Development Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir Ruch Valdez.
Okay. The question earlier, as I remember it, is that there are different sectors in Cebu getting together to decide on what to do for this traffic problem. The answer is, of course, infrastructure. No? But the problem is today. No? And infrastructure means we should have done it 20 years ago. I was here, part of this businessmen's conference, talking to the different businessmen and government sector at more than 20 years ago, and we were already talking about the need for infrastructure on 2 things, mass transit system and water. At that time, more than 20 years ago. But what had happened, however, is the infrastructure was not started, but instead Cebu was moved by political leadership and businessmen towards tourism. Okay? And this is what is happening now. The population starts to grow and the need for all of these things is happening. Yes, we need infrastructure. It must be government-led and it must start today. Better late than never.
Thank you. Another question for all of you. What's your stand on government corruption? I know that President Duterte tried, I'm saying tried, because it hasn't worked, tried his best really to, no, because there are still corrupt government officials, right? He's trying his best, but still it is, because they're saying that corruption is systemic. I know a friend of mine last week just mentioned that they were trying to have some of their cargoes released in customs, and customs will not release the cargo unless they pay X amount in millions, because they were going to use this now for the campaign of an official. So, meaning to say, corruption is still there. Ano po ang pwede niyong gawin when you become senators? How can you stop corruption? Let's start with you, sir.
Actually po, yung corruption mula pa ho nung umpisa may corruption na hanggang ngayon. Kaya naisip ko po na kung isusulong natin yung freedom of information, may access ang press in every activity of the government. Kagaya nung doon sa sinasabi niyo sa customs, sino bang nakadiscover doon? Di mga press people. Kaya kung mayroon ng freedom of information na ngayon ay hindi pa inilalabas, kasi lahat ng mga nasa opisya, nasa itaas ng gobyerno, takot. Kasi baka makita yung record nila, yung kanilang mga pagnanakaw. Kaya kung mayroong freedom of information, mababawasan po ng konti yung corruption. Yan lang po muna.
Okay, Attorney Gadon.
Yeah, mahirap talaga iwasan yung corruption dahil naging, kagaya nga ng sinabi nyo, systemic na. Pero meron akong paraan dyan. Di ba meron tayong commission on audit? Pero yung commission on audit din kung minsan vulnerable din sila. So ang dapat gawin dyan, magkaroon ng People's Commission on Audit na iba-iba yung tao na pagka na-assign halimbawa dito sa Cebu, the following week, iba naman. And then the following week, iba na naman. So that there are no familiarities and walang collusion na maganap. And para pagka ganon, magiging transparent yung kanilang mga records, machi-check palagi at iba-iba ang magchi-check kung tama yung presyo ng kanilang mga procurement. And another thing, the best really is to elect someone like Larry Gadon na makapag-lead sa kanila para gawin yan.
Okay, thank you. Attorney
Arroyo
Joel.
Robredo.
Yeah, let's go to the root of it. Sabi ni Bishop Roderick Pabilio, better leaders are because of better voters. The power to choose the leaders are in your hands, not in our hands. So we elect the candidates, we elect the leaders that we deserve. If you elect the correct candidates, then we will have no corruption or lessen the corruption. Mawala ng trabaho ang ombudsman sa Diganbayan if you elect the righteous candidates. So actually, the public office is a public trust. It is not us, the politicians, that will correct it really, but it is the people who must work with us. Public accountability lies in your hands, not in the hands of the public officials. Kaya very important na pagpili ng kandidato doon pa lang para hindi na natin pag-usapan ng corruption o mga death penalties o mga punishment, pumili na tayo ng tama. You have to pray about it, discern about it. Huwag kayo nadadala sa mga pakulo. In fact, I have the story of Barabbas. The first election was between Barabbas and Jesus Christ. We all know Jesus Christ lost to Barabbas because Barabbas was supported by Pontius Pilate, by Caiaphas, the high priest, powerful, malakas ang backer. Even if Jesus did a lot of good things to the people at the time, but he was alone, quiet, nobody was siding with him. So nadala ang mga tao dahil malakas ang sigaw kay Barabbas at binoto si Barabbas. We have to stop voting for Barabbas. We have to change the way we vote. This is really the root of it all. You talk about corruption, let's change the way we elect our leaders. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
po. Sir Butch.
My life as a professional, as a CPA, was an auditor. As an auditor, we're supposed to look for these culprits that are getting money from the different corporations. One of the most difficult things has always been connivance. Pag may connivance ng mga ibang tao dito sa korporasyon, mahirap po hanapin yan. Ganyan din ang nangyayari sa government. You cannot just steal money unless there is connivance. And the problem now is the connivance is not only within government, it is also including the private sector. Those big companies that are buying interests into the government, lobby money, and all kinds of lagay system coming from the private sector is creating this corruption environment. Now, if you're going to jail or punish these corruptors in government, look for their partners in the private sector and jail them as well. Because those are the culprits that is destroying our government. No? Hindi lang po ang magnanakaw sa loob. Yung pong nasa labas, magnanakaw din. And you have to get them. Look into the intelligence network, look for these culprits and jail them as well.
Thank you. Although it's easier said than done, kasi yung corruption for us, parang cancer na rin yan, but there's still hope.
Yeah, I think they were able to answer the question from the audience that said, how do you stop vote
Vote
buying?
buying.
Nasagot na yun
Yeah.
siya. Of course, no one will buy your vote if you do not sell your vote also.
In
So
the
it's the same
electoral
thing.
process, there's
Right.
still corruption, so
Yes.
they have to do something about it.
Right. One of the issues in the Mega Cebu program that we're trying to solve is the scarcity of water. In the study that JICA did in 2015, that's the roadmap study for sustainable Metro Cebu. They predicted that by 2030, there shall be a huge water scarcity. Hindi na makakasupply ang MCWD ng needs ng mga tao. But actually, it's already happening now. There's water rationing already happening. And that's not just in Cebu. It's all over the Philippines.
In Metro Manila, I guess,
Yeah.
you've had problems
Year
with
after
water.
year, we face this water crisis, yet we are an archipelago with lots of water around us, okay? And you have countries outside that do not have their own water source, but they're self-sufficient. When you become senator, what is your solution to our water problem?
Well, kagaya po ngayon, sa Maynila, naghihirap na rin po eh. Pag summer na, ayan na, kulang na ng tubig. Pagkatapos magpapalabas ng tubig doon sa Ipo Dam o sa Apo Dam, kung saan mga dam-dam na yan. Kasaka ng akin ho, magkaroon ng consolidated na reservoir ng tubig. At kung ito ay mangangailangan ng pera at talaga namang mangangailangan, huwag na tayong mangungutang sa Japan. Huwag na tayong mangungutang sa China. Utusan natin, gawan natin ng batas. Gawan po natin ng batas na lahat ng religious properties magbayad ng buwis. Ang utang po natin ngayon ay trilyon na. Dadagdagan pa ho natin yan. Pagka tayo gumawa pa ng mga infrastructures, lahat-lahat na yan, mga kapatid at mga kasama, kailangan magtulong-tulong ang mamayan sa Pilipinas kasama ang relihiyon, magbayad ng buwis.
Okay, thank you. So the solution to the water problem is people should pay taxes so that we could fund our own. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Attorney Gadon?
In particular case of Cebu, do you know that your water resources are the water being consumed by the residents in Cebu, 98% comes from underground and only 2% surface water. This is quite unique, ano? Probably only Cebu has this kind of experience. You experience a lot of rains and flood, and yet the surface water being used is only 2%. Why don't we put up dams or water impounding systems so that during summertime you can use this water for human consumption and irrigation, and during rainy season or typhoon season, you can catch the water so that it will not flood the cities. I don't know. It would probably take 10 to 20 years to do this, but it will permanently solve the problems of Cebu in terms of water and flooding.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
The Mega Cebu Development Plan already identified the solutions to your water problem, and this is to build 3 more dams to augment the only dam existing so that you will no longer depend on the underground source. So the issue really here is, again, is the implementation. The plans is there, but then how do we implement? There are informal settlers, there are many issues in local government where the dam is supposed to be built. So I think this would require strong political will. Again, go back to governance, to leadership. Siguro kailangan ng Office of the President to issue an executive order that would declare some kind of a state of urgency or emergency. No, that would hasten and speed up all the red tape and the paperwork to implement. You already have the solution. Kailangan lang gawin. Now the question is, kailan gagawin? So this requires political will. Again, me, when I become a senator, I will use my oversight function in the Senate to make sure that this is done immediately and call all the sectors concerned into one meeting and then implement those that will oppose it because of personal interest. Then we will have to stop it. We have to exercise strong decision-making to make them happen. Thank
We
you.
already have the bill, sir, in Congress, the Mega Cebu Development Authority. We just need your help in pushing it and lobbying it
You
so
can
that
count
it will
on
be
me. We'll
passed.
push on it, make
Thank
it a
you.
priority bill.
Thank you very much. Attorney Valdez?
You know, about 15 years ago, when we were discussing Save the Nation in one forum, a Cebuano had raised a question about the needs of water. And I said I was familiar about the need of water because more than 20 years ago, I knew that water was already a problem then, and I'm sure the problem is more critical today. You must understand that water can be created by man. We don't have to wait for God to give us water. We don't have to wait for rainy season. And it's called desalination. One of them is called desalination. Desalination of water, if you use oil or gas or coal, now then there are problems. It becomes very, very expensive. However, the other problem of Cebu is energy. I was suggesting, even at that time, 15 years ago, that Cebu put up these small nuclear reactors, about 300 megawatt reactors, on both ends of Cebu, south and north. And this will not just provide better energy, cheaper energy, it will also be used for desalination of water. Wherein water, as you know, the sea will be an endless source of water, can be provided to the whole of Cebu. If such a program was initiated at that time, we will not have this problem today. No?
Okay.
But again, I said, better late than never.
All right. We will now entertain questions from the audience. We have one here, actually. This is addressed to Attorney Gadon. From the audience, sir, wala lang pangalan. But the question is, why do you say that there was no corruption in the Marcos era?
Do you know that the total budget of President Marcos administration for 20 years, is only 467 billion. And there were hospitals, highways, airports, schools, hospitals, cultural center, PICC, heart center, children's medical center. And do you know that during the time of Cory, for 6 years only, the budget was 1.7 trillion for 6 years only. Compare this to Marcos' budget of 437 in 20 years. And what was done during that 6 years of Cory Aquino? Anong massive infrastructure ang nangyari noon? Only the flyover in Ortigas. And aside from that, wala na. So, walang corruption during the time of Marcos. Shh. I can debate with you anytime, but not in this forum because there are rules already given by
Yes, we have
the
guidelines
organizers,
to
no?
follow.
Let's
please.
observe proper decorum, please, okay?
Okay.
I'm not lying. You are just ignorant. No?
Okay.
Don't debate with me here. No, I'll debate with you anytime, but not here. There are rules. I want to follow the rules here.
Yes.
Let's settle down. Let's settle down.
You should go out. The rules is if someone will disrupt the forum, you should go out. I request the organizers to ask this fellow to go out. Otherwise, I will walk out.
Can we
I
just
will only
step out?
suggest na warningan na lang.
There are rules.
Warningan natin sila, please.
Can we have Ma'am Brinette?
I strongly demand that this fellow be excluded from this event. You are wasting my time.
Let's provide a refrain heckling and making remarks which are not acceptable here in this venue, please. The rules were clearly read to us when we started the forum. So presume we're all intelligent
Okay, so
people
it's-
and we all know enough the rules and policies of the forums.
No, don't argue with me. Argue with the organizers. Bobo eh.
So it's okay. It's okay. Let's proceed. I have another question for everybody here.
No. I demand that this guy be excluded. Because that's the rules.
No, may rules kanina, bibigyan ng warning. Warning lamang. No. Pag inulit yan, ako na mismo ang hihila sa'yo sa labas.
Can we proceed, Attorney Larry? For warning. We gave them one warning. Are you okay, Attorney Larry? There's first reprimand.
Any word from him will
Yes.
really, I will walk out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't
Okay.
waste my time.
Okay, so can
Okay,
we
let's
proceed?
go
I am more important than you.
Can we
Let's move
proceed
on.
now?
Let's move on.
So we will proceed now.
Kailan yan? Sige.
Okay.
Where are we now?
Do we have the live question, Ellie?
Since you talk about the youth earlier in your opening speech, no, I would like to know what can you offer the youth so they can participate more in good governance, considering that there's already an SK, but I would like to know more if you have any more further proposals as to enhance the participation of the youth already in place in this country.
That's a good question. We are talking a while ago about corruption. And we know naman that the youth cannot be corrupted, no? Because they are still idealistic. Then I would probably create a youth department which I will call People's Commission on Audit. And I will hire these young people to guard these projects, no, para sila yung mag-audit. Hindi mo sila makokorrupt, and we will prevent corruption. They will be involved in the government service at the young age. Thank you.
That's a very good question. Can I ask the other senators to also answer?
Yeah.
Attorney Roleda, yes.
You talk about the SK being in place. I think we have to empower more the SK. Actually, I have a proposal to make them really an integral part of the government bureaucracy, not only as an parang accessory to the barangay. And we want to involve more the SK not only in basketball, not only in beauty contests, but also in socio-civic and peace and order policy making. We really make them part of the governance and policy making of the barangay. And for the youth, especially, as I mentioned earlier kanina, we need really we have free college education, but ang problema ng ating mga nag-aaral ay yung stipend sa transportation. So we need to create some kind of a young entrepreneurship, young livelihood, and allow them to also become working students. And we need to look at the curriculum of the students sa college kasi we changed K1 to K12. Pwede pa natin re-review ng CHED yung ating college curriculum. We need also to attend again to the out-of-school youth, make them integral part of all the society, and we need to create more activities, no, that would make all the youth productive. And this is all integral part of the Pamilya Ang Bida program ko because I am filing my first bill, which is the Magna Carta of Family, which will involve all members of the family, the father, mother, and the children. So we will do this, and with God's help, we'll make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to answer that question, Attorney?
I have,
Attorney Valdez first?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. The youth are important to me, not as to what can be given to you today. The youth is important as to what you want your country to be in the future. Government is not just running the day-to-day thing. Government is also thinking about vision, about future objectives. The Mega Cebu project here talks about the future. Now, the youth have to be involved in that determination of that future. Don't let old people alone decide what your future is going to be. So the group that can be formed by government must include the youth as they see their future to be. Because you must remember, it is the future that determines the present, not the other way around. What you want your country to be in the future will determine what you must do today. So that's where the youth should be participating heavily, not just as a token representation, heavily, because you are part of determining that country that you want it to be in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Attorney Arias,
Sure.
you wanna say something about that question? Yung youth?
Isa lamang po. Gusto ko po na yung aking pamumuhay, uri ng paglilingkod sa gobyerno kung sakasakali maging senador ako kasama ni Mr. Gadon, makita ng mga kabataan ngayon at kanilang gawing halimbawa ng kanilang paglilingkod sa ating bayan. Yan lamang po ang isang pamana na maiiwan ko sa kabataan. God bless you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We have 2 more live questions.
Do you have somebody there who would like to ask? Okay.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, lalo na sa inyong 4 na balang araw mahihirang na Senado. Ako po si Roselier Claudio Sarsali. Tubong Maynila rin po katulad nyo, pero dito na ako naninirahan sa Cebu. Ako po ay isang OFW. Mula 1983 hanggang ngayon, as a seaman. Nahihirapan po ako minsan, nakikita ko pag nagpupunta ako sa marina, lalo dyan sa marina, sino-sino ang umuupo. Minsan yung mga interviewer namin, mas pataas pa ang experience namin kaysa kanila. Yung iba, IT graduate, kung ano-ano na lang. Na parang pag tinanong kami sa profession namin, minsan nagagalit pa sila sa amin. Bakit ang dami daw namin nagtanong? Kaya minsan pabalabag ko rin tinatanong, bakit kayo umupo riyan? Hindi nyo yan profession. Samantalang kami, alam namin. Minsan may nangyari, batang-bata galing sa Cagayan, sa Mindanao. Pumunta, magkukuha ng requirements niya para makasakay sa overseas. Pabalik-balik nila doon, binagsak sa examination, binagsak sa oral. Hanggang anong nangyari sa bata, nagpakamatay na lang siya. Sa sunod na taon, iba na naman yung puupo na interviewer na ilalagay nila sa marina. Katulad sa akin na eksperensyado, pag nakita nila ako, purpulyo. Dahil sa experience. Pero pag yung ibang mga bata, kawawa rin po. Kagaya minsan may nakita ko, anak ng Chief of Police sa Misamis Occidental. Nung in-interview, binagsak. 1 buwan na pabalik-balik, katabi yung kapitan. Hanggang nawa yung kapitan. Ano bang hinahanap mo rito sa batang to? Galing naman ng Inter-Island, may experience, kompleto ang papel. Bakit ayaw mo ipasa? Nakita ko, kinuha nung kapitan yung bata. Sabi niya, halika, magkatabi tayong 2. In-examine niya yung bata, in-interview. Pumasa yung bata, 3 buwan pabalik-balik yung bata para makuha yung certificate na para makaalis sa abroad.
So ano po ang ating tanong?
Ay, yung gusto ko, kung sino sa inyo ang mahirang bilang Senado, balang araw, inihiling ko po ang puso nyo. Yung sa Marina, isa yan. Kasi kami na nagbabarko, sinasabing bayani ng bagong lipunan.
So you're asking po na
What-
change na mangyayari
Oo.
sa
Is there something
Marina.
they can do?
Gawaan nyo sila ng paraan na,
Support that.
yung
Or look
suporta.
at the problem.
Suportahan na gawaan ng
Okay.
yung problema.
Sige po.
Yung ano po.
Sir, who would like to answer first?
Si Attorney Arias.
Gagayahin ko po yung ginawa ng gobyerno doon sa bago ng lisensya. Pinag-aaralan po yun. Dahil sa mayroon naman po tayong technology na makakatulong para mapabilis yan. Kagaya halimbawa ng mga problema sa birth certificate. Ginawa na po ng batas yan. Pero mayroon pa rin tumatagal. Nasa kamay na po ng mga tao na humahawak dyan. Kaya kung ako sakasakali inyong itapon sa Senado, ang gagawin ko po ay magkaroon lamang ng strict screening sa mga taong ilalagay doon sa pwesto. At pag-aralan kung paano mapabilis. Kagaya po ngayon, biktima ho ako dyan eh. Nag-apply ho ako ng permit para pumutol ng kahoy. Sarili kong tanim. 3 taon na po, hanggang ngayon pending pa.
My God. Tumubo ho na yung kahoy.
Tumubo naman ang kahoy. Okay.
Namunga na.
So walang kalubihan.
Namunga na. Okay. Anyway, Attorney
Sir.
Larry.
Hello. The solution really is to professionalize the government agencies like Marina, because Marina is a highly technical and highly specialized agency. The people that should be appointed there must be specialized also, highly trained and highly educated also in terms of mariners education. And not only that, they should have at least 5 years experience for them to be able to screen the other candidates.
Right.
Otherwise, ano i-screen? Paano sila mag-screen kung sila mismo
Hindi
wala
alam.
silang alam? Like what the person, the one who asked this question, mas marami pa sila experience kaysa dun sa nag-interview, no? So, yun ang dapat gawin. I-professionalize natin yung mga regulatory agencies.
Will you
Thank you.
will you commit to looking into that when you become senator?
Yes, in fact, I would even propose a state board exams for these people
Yung mga
so that
uupo.
they may be hired in the maritime industry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Attorney Roleda.
Yes, itong problema talaga ng ugali, actually it's more of ugali at saka karakter ng mga nagsisilbi sa pamalaan, ay problema talaga, and then nag-iba-iba ang trato sa kapwa Pilipino. Nung ako'y foreign investment advisor for 10 years, I travel a lot all over the world. Ay yan na prating problema binabagay sa akin ng mga OFW na namimit ko sa mga malls, sa mga tindahan. At pinatawag ko na actually during my time yung Department of Foreign Affairs, Department of Labor, at saka all the agencies, including Marina, na tatuhin ng maayos itong mga ating mga nagtrabaho sa ibang bansa. At kaya lang, paglipas ng panahon, bumabalik na naman ang kanilang mga ugali. And that's why, when I become a senator, I will fully exercise our oversight authority. Kasi oversight authority, kailangan magsumbong kayo, kailangan meron tayong sistema na makakarating sa amin kung mga kinaukulan, kung mga ganyang problema. Kasi kanya-kanya karakter kasi yan eh. So that we are able to reorient them and emphasize to them to conduct themselves always with dignity, with respect when they deal with our OFWs. And maybe we have to make the law or the administrative code stricter. We have to punish them. Kasi minsan, in order to discipline, kailangan may punishment tayo, no, na para hindi nila gawin. And actually, President Duterte is doing that now, no, but it's really, again, in the implementation. And then we go back again to leadership. So, mahirap talaga. Bureaucracy is too difficult, but we need to work together, all of us. So, we begin now during the election. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Butch.
Yan pong tanong sa aking pagkakaintindi ay is not a question of the legislature. Kami po ay humingi ng tulong na maging senador para magagawa ng batas. Ngayon po, ang problemang yan should be better addressed by the cabinet secretary involved. Kasi po, sa kanyang responsibilidad, yung kinakailangan na sinasabi natin professionalism at walang kumpare-kumpare o kamag-anak na ilinalagay dito sa mga posisyon, maski na hindi po nila kayang gawin. No? Kung minsan po nagkakaroon ng ganyan, o kaya kung minsan binibili daw yung mga posisyon para silang mangungurakot. Problema po talaga yan ng cabinet secretary. But having said that, ang sinasabi po natin, pag laganap yung ganyang klaseng problema, pwedeng umabot po sa senador para maimbestigahan. No? At yun po ang aming pinapangako.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. The last question from the audience? Yes.
Isa pa? All right.
Good afternoon po. My question is originally addressed to Attorney Cadon, but the other candidates could also answer. So here's my question. If you lower the minimum age of criminal responsibility on the grounds of children having discernment already, then using the same principle, would it be logical to say that we should also lower the legal age to vote, to marry, and to engage into legal contracts?
Who would like to answer that first?
At Attorney Gadon first, and
yeah,
then the
yeah.
rest can
Kasi
come in.
others pala kay Attorney Gadon yun.
The concept of voting, exercising your suffrage rights, is so different from doing a criminal act. You have to understand that. Voting is choosing a leader. No? Killing is, or murdering people is bad. So there's no point of comparison. No? Thank you.
Would like to answer? Anybody?
Again, if I understand the question, inahambing niya yung sa lowering of the criminal responsibility with the rights of to get married, no? And to vote and so on and so forth. Yung pong mga responsibility for to get married, reaching the age of consent, no? Ang ibig po sabihin ng yan sa aking pong pagkakaintindi, kaya nyo na pong mabuhay at kaya nyo na pong bumuhay ng mga bata dahil sigurado magkakaroon ng mga bata. Kung minsan po masyado pong mga bata, sobra pang bata, hindi pa kaya yan. Kanya yung Estado, binabantayan nito para at least magkaroon ng better chance, magkaroon ng pamilya. Yung pong sinasabi natin sa criminal responsibility, ang paliwanag po natin kanina ay kakaiba talaga dyan. Kasi itong criminal responsibility ng mga bata, ginagamit po sila, maski na hindi po nila nalalaman, kanya kinakailangan pumasok po ang Estado. We have to intervene, the state has to intervene to help in rearing up those children. As far as voting is concerned, I suppose if you say 18 is too high and it should be 16, no, then we should be able to prove that. No? And I think the state will accommodate the youth if the youth says we want to be able to vote at 16, and the state recognizes that voice. Why not? No? Choice of leaders.
Attorney Arias?
Sa ganang akin po, yung pagbaba ng edad para sa mga buboto o mag-aasawa, depende ho yan sa kabuhayan. Pero sa ganang akin, pwede hong ibaba yan. Pero, may batas. Kagaya ngayon ho, mayroon tayong isa dyan. Matanda na siya, 60 anyos na yata eh. Pagkatapos ang ginagawang asawa 16. Mayroong sigawan ang lipunan. Pero may nagawa ba ang batas? Wala. Yan pa mga kapatid, legal corruption. Kaya bakit hindi natin huwag natin galawin muna yung batas na yan, kundi hayaan natin ipatupad.
Ang alin ho?
Yung batas ngayon tungkol sa edad.
Okay.
Sa age.
Sa age, sa pagboto, at saka sa pag-aasawa.
It's a totally different story po.
Opo.
Yes, okay. Attorney Roleda?
Actually, kasi the question is about kung mayroon ng discernment kaya natin binababa ang edad to 12. We have to distinguish kasi yung knowing what is right and wrong kasi is basic. So yung right and wrong kasi, pag 12 years old, more or less alam na niya kung anong mali o tama doon. At as I mentioned earlier, hindi naman liability yun kundi intervention by the state to rehabilitate the child committing a criminal act. But I do agree that in the election, qualify natin yung SK kasi I see something wrong with the present law na ginawang 18 to 30 years old at hindi na yung SK. Gusto ko ibaba to 15, at least hanggang 23 years old siguro para talagang bata. So kasi ngayon, yung mga SK natin, above 20 years old na karamihan at they are really supposed to be part already of the ordinary society pero nawawalan ng boses actually kabataan dahil tumanda ang ating qualification sa SK. Yun ang gusto kong ulit ibalik sa kabataan, 15 years old up, maybe up to 23 ang SK. Tukod naman sa marriage, Marriage kasi requires a lot of responsibility as a basic social institution that is protected by the state and also by the church. So, kailangan di lang discernment, kailangan doon kundi responsibility, kaya ba niya magpalaki ng pamilya, kaya ba niya mag-suporta sa mga anak, kasi hindi naman yan pwede hambing sa discernment lang kasi mas malaki responsibility doon. At on the voting age, on the other positions, it requires really some kind of experience, maturity to choose wisely. And although we believe in the youth, you can participate in the advocacies, in the voice, that you can guide your parents on whom to vote.
Okay. Thank you. Now, this is the last question for all of them. No longer from that. There's one more? Okay, one more.
May ba? Napasa. Sige. And after this, we'll proceed to the
Yes.
next segment or next part.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Just a follow-up question regarding the regarding the lowering of the minimum age of criminal responsibility. Like it's built on the premise that children under the in the age of 12 to 13 are of thinking age. So, by essence, would that mean that they're also in the right age to vote? So, by essence, if we lower the minimum age of criminal responsibility, we should also lower the age of voting responsibility.
Wasn't that answered when they answered kanina? Or
Not
that's
the
the
answers
same?
were not really as I say.
Your
So-
Honor answered already.
It was, I think, explained that
they already explained it earlier.
committing a crime and
yes.
voting are two different things, actually.
Yes. I think there was already something there, but if not, if you were not satisfied, exactly what are you asking?
Yeah, like if is it do we really consider children in the ages 12 to 13 as mature? And
So that's the question.
Ah.
That's the question.
I
Do
think-
do we really consider
Consider-
children mature
At the age
that
of 13,
age?
is that what you mean?
yes, okay, like
That-
by
actually-
essence, if they are mature, then they should be able to have the independence to actually vote for themselves.
Okay, sige.
Actually, if I may, the question really is not the maturity but the knowing what is right and wrong. Kasi itong mga batang ito, pag hindi nag-intervene ng state, baka lalong maging masama at maging kriminal. Ang gusto lang naman ng pamalaan ng ating batas ay yung maagapan na hindi lalo maging mas masama siya. So it's not a question of maturity but knowing what is right and wrong. Nakita natin ang bata, 12 years old, masyadong pailyo na, pasaway na, hindi na kaya ng magulang na alagaan at papasok ang pamalaan para tulungan ang pamilya para masaayos ang bata. So it's not a question of maturity but knowing the basic right and wrong at hindi mo hayaan na sila ay maging 18 years old pa kasi kung sila ay gumagawa ng krimen na 12, 13, 14, lalong lalaki at lalakihan at baka maging matibay yung maging stubborn na ba yung maging matigas. So we need early intervention so that we can still save the child.
Attorney?
Yeah, okay. Yung kagaya nga ng sinabi ni Attorney Dan Roleda, ang criminal responsibility, ang dinidetermine lang naman doon, yung discernment whether he knows what is right and what is wrong. So it is easy naman to determine whether killing somebody is right or wrong, or stealing something is right or wrong, or pushing, selling drugs is right or wrong. No? Madaling ma-determine yon. Whereas in the exercise of suffrage, no, yung pagboto, ito yung mga disadvantages niyan pagka inalaw mo yung mga 12 years old or 16 years old to vote. No? As of now, out of 55 million registered voters, ang 65% dyan ay yung aging from 18 to 40. No? So, kung isasama mo dyan, yung 12 years old, 13, 14, 15, ang magiging composition ngayon ng mga voters would be around 90% of the younger age. Vulnerable yung mga yan. Madali yan na madaan sa pambobola ng mga traditional politicians, madali silang madadaan sa mga propaganda, ganyan. So, ang mangyayari, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng political maturity. Kaya nga, ang age ng voting is yung 18 because that is supposed to be, we are presuming that the 18 is already at least politically matured. Yung mga, you cannot expect that from ages 12, 13, 14, kung sino ba si Danny Roleda, kung sino si Butch Valdez, sino si Attorney Gadon, sino si Attorney Mar Arias. Hindi nila yan maiintindihan ng gusto.
Okay.
Yun ang difference niyan. Eh yung kagaya na lang nung pag-aasawa. Eh yung pag-aasawa naman bukod dun sa kiss, meron pang ibang ginagawa. Kagaya ng kailangan buhayin mo yung pamilya mo. Kailangan buhayin, maging responsable ka sa pagpalaki ng anak. Kailangan maging responsable sa future ng pamilya mo. Eh magagawa ba naman ng 12 years old yun, ng 13, 14, 15, 16? Natural, hindi. Kaya nga ginagawa, 18 years old nga, kailangan pa ng advice and consent of the parents, di ba? At binibigyan lamang ng full consent ang magpakasal pag 25 years old na, hindi na kailangan ng parental advice. Yun ang difference. Iba yung maturity ng criminal responsibility, iba yung maturity ng law on suffrage or right of suffrage and right to rear a family.
Okay.
Yun. Siguro yun ang mas maliwanag.
You wanna say something, Attorney
Isang
Arias?
statement lang po. Ang masasabi ko po doon, yung equal opportunities. Sa criminality po, hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na pantay-pantay tayo, lahat tayo gumawa ng krimen. Pero sa mabuting pamumuhay, itinalaga ng batas, ang maturity ay 18 na ang ibig sabihin, kaya nang magpamilya. Kaya binigyan niya ng equal opportunities, 18 anyos.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, just to again repeat what Attorney Roleda said also is it's not about punishing, it's intervention. Before, because si Attorney Roleda earlier was quoting the Bible, just for that particular issue ba?
Yes.
Even God said in Proverbs 13 ba, he who does not spare the rod does not love the children. So kung nakay-anak nga suwail, imo ginang bunalan para makaton. Kay kung kana tough love ba, tough love. Kung imo nang pasagdan because you love him, sige lang, okay lang if bahalang nag-foolishness, he will never grow up.
Nasa yung mga bata ang
grow up,
huna-huna,
tarong.
tiguang na, yung mga tiguang ang huna-huna bata. So, depende na lang
Okay.
sa discard.
So anyways, can we just ask them, and this is actually always our last question. Now, we asked this in the past two other forum. Has there been any fake news about you during the campaign that you want to clarify? We'll give you the chance
This is now the
to
opportunity.
explain yourself. Kung meron mang fake news po about you in the campaign. Normally kasi meron mga binabato ng mga news about the candidates. Meron po sa inyo?
So para sa akin po, sa akin pagkakalam, zero.
Wala. Okay, that's very good.
Right.
That's very good. Attorney Gadon.
Yung chismis sa akin, artista daw ako. Hindi mukhang artista lang.
So, fake news ho yun?
Fake
Sa tingin
news.
nyo?
Okay.
Well, in my case, this is the Tulfo case, no? Yung alleged employees who were not paid their salaries. They were not my employees. I was the lawyer who incorporated the company, and I was the one who formed the company, but I am not part of the company. So whatever problem they have, I have nothing to do with it. But because maybe I'm a candidate, at nakita nila doon, nandun pangalan ko, so I was mentioned. But that has been resolved. I intervened, I talked to the management, yung pala, hindi pa pala nag-umpisa ang kumpanya, I did not open yet. But that is part of politics that, especially like you, no, kailangan talaga discernment at pag-aralan. At mahirap, minsan malaman ko ng fake news kasi they all looked real. But just pray and you will find the truth. Thank you.
Okay. Attorney Valdez.
When you asked the question, I was thinking very hard. Wala ko talaga. Pero all of a sudden, pumasok po sa akin yung answer. Alam ko na po yung fake news tungkol sa akin. Sabi nung iba, hindi daw ako mananalo. Mananalo po tayo. Yan ang katotohanan.
Okay.
Thank
so,
you. That's the If you
Alright.
join politics, you have to be ready because without any issue, still some people would like to create an issue.
Yes. So
Of you.
I really hope that the audience, the students, and those who are watching in their television sets right now on cable, we hope that you more or less are starting to make your list of who you want to vote for in the coming election. So At this point, we'd like to give you the chance now to give your closing statements. This time it's 3 minutes po. You may stand, you may walk around to address the audience. Yes, ikaw,
Sir,
sir.
go ahead, sir.
Time, 3 minutes. Hinihiling ko po sa inyo, sa bayan, na tapon ninyo ako sa Senado. Sabi nila, hindi ako mananalo. Wala akong kwarta, wala akong organisasyon. But mind you, sa kasalukuyan, may mga pastor na nagrarally sa Cotabato. Mayroong mga pastor sa Pangasinan, mayroon sa Calabarzon, all shouting, pastor na, abogado pa, mararya sa Senado.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat.
You can stay here. Upo pa. We're going to be reading your... May recap po tayo, may recap.
Attorney Gadon.
Attorney Gadon.
Mahabang panahon na nagdaan, no? At paulit-ulit na yung mga nandyan sa Senado ay sila pa rin. Puro sila pangako ng kanilang gagawin, pero pagdating na nandyan na sila, iba rin ang kanilang ginagawa. So, subukan naman natin ngayon ang bago, no? Ang dapat sa Senado ay yung talagang marunong, matalino at marunong talagang magmahal sa bayan. At dapat sa Senado ay mga bago na hindi bobo. Yun lang.
Thank you. Attorney Rolada.
Thank you for inviting us, and thank you, fellow students. Again, allow me to quote the story in the Bible. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus Christ prayed, di ba? Then he shed blood. He cried blood. Kasi alam niya ang kanyang dadaanan ay masakit. He will be crucified. And he said to the Father, take this cup away from me, but thy will be done. Kami, like ako, tumatakbo. Normal naman yun since I was running 1992, 95, 98. Parating sinasabi sa akin ng mga pamilya, huwag ka natatakbo. At bakit ka lang mo pa tumakbo? Pero kung alam lang ninyo lahat at alam ng pamilya ko lahat na ganun din ang prayer ko, kung pwede lang, take this cup away from me, but thy will be done, because it is a calling, it is a passion. I'm running not to become a senator, but to become a public servant. I am running because this is the job that I want to do. And I'm running because I'm in love with the Filipino, and I'm in love with the country. I mentioned earlier that we should stop the fighting, the nonsense, the quarrel, kasi every administration na lang, parating nangyari ganun, pag nagpalit, titirahin nung nakaraan. So, naging ganun ang ating sequence. Sabi nga ng lolo sa tatay ko, wala tayong pag-asa. Tatay ko sa akin, walang pag-asa. Ayaw ko naman sabihin sa anak ko na wala tayong pag-asa. So, we must have to do something about it. We do not just change the colors of our shirt because of our political affiliation, but we must have a change of heart. We have to fall in love again with our country and be one as a Filipino family. Better leaders are because of better voters. Do not vote for me, Dan Roleda, to become a senator. You vote for your country through me if you think that I am qualified, if I merit your trust and confidence to serve and make your dreams come true. We have to be united in our spirit, in our dreams,
Thank you.
so that we can make this country great again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir Butch?
Ako po si Butch Valdez. Number 61 in your ballot. I am a professional, never before a politician. Kami po sa KDP, lahat kami, as I was saying earlier, we're part of different movements. Nagsasalita kami, getting the government to try to do what is right. But every election that happened, nakikita po natin na hindi po nagagawa ang kinakailangan ng ating bayan. So what did we do? We said, it is not enough that we are an audience watching them fight it out in the politics. We must get inside the ring and fight for our country and for our people. If we are not going to do this, we are at fault, and we should not complain what happens to the country. We must be able to show to the whole country, and especially the youth, that we must get in and fight for your country, even if it meant the sacrifice of your own life. And this, in the KDP, is our motto. This, in the KDP, is our promise to our people. We are a party of principle, not of convenience. We are a party of ideas, not of personalities. And all of our platform, the only party right now that has a party platform, no, is the KDP. Please help us. Help us create a better future for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir Valdez.
Now, at this
Right.
point, while we were having the forum po, we have mga documenters at the back, and they took note of all of your statements. And so we're going to be flashing here on screen each of your commitments for you to be able to say if it's correct, if we captured it right, kung wala bang mali. So who do we start with?
Okay.
Okay, so
Attorney
for you,
Arias.
Attorney Arias, this is what you said, you committed to do. Yes to charter change to federalism. Yes to lowering the age of criminal responsibility to 12. Yes to the death penalty. You will pass freedom of information law to lessen corruption, collect taxes from church properties, empower the youth by setting a good example, and strict screening of marina, I think, officials.
Sir, tama po ba lahat?
Tama po.
Walang missing po,
Maraming
walang
salamat.
kulang.
Maraming salamat.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Then we
you.
have next, Attorney Larry Gadon.
Would you like to read, Dante?
Sir, you said yes to federalism, parliamentary, yes to death penalty for heinous crimes, yes to lowering the age of criminal liability to 12 years old, support public-private partnership strategy for Mega Cebu, water shortage, Cebu needs a dam, create a People's Commission on Audit, include the youth sector, Sangguniang Kabataan, for example, professionalize Marina and other regulatory agencies, no to lowering of the registered age to vote, enter into legal contracts, etc. Attorney, confirmed? All? No problem? Okay.
Okay, so next, for Attorney Roleda, exercise political will to implement Mega Cebu plans, executive order from the President's office to build the 3 dams, support pending bill for Metro Cebu Development Authority, stop bickering, fall in love with the Filipino nation, support Cebu's model of progress but answer basic needs, in education, free nursery to kindergarten, opportunity for students to earn while in school, food security, health, barangay doctors and nurses, no to death penalty, yes to the lowering age of criminal liability to 12.
Yes.
Tama, walang
yes,
missing
yes,
po?
correct. Thank you.
All right. Next, Sir Butch Valdez, refocus Philippine economy as a producer, strong agri-industry, not a service industry. Uphold sovereignty on federalism, still studying its economic impact. Be careful about changing the form, not the substance. No to the death penalty except for cases of genocide and mass murder like the Dingvaxia case. No to lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility. Support multi-sectoral collaboration, mass transit to solve Cebu's traffic, power supply, build nuclear reactors in north and south of Cebu. Sir.
Yes, okay. I agree.
Okay. This time, Carol, we asked them to sign the buksay as a part of the covenant. Buksay. Sagwan in Tagalog. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ma'am Evelyn Castro.
Okay, let's all give them a big round of applause, no? It takes not just passion, but courage to really run for an elective post. So just as announcement, by Friday, March 22, we're going to have a party list candidates. So we will have from Alo TUCP, from Akbayan, from Bayan Muna, Ako Bisdak, Ako Bisaya, Magdalo, 1 triple AP, PBB, Gabriela, and ang NARS. For March 25, senatorial candidates Attorney Hilbay, Mr. Tanyada, Attorney Jokno, and Calio de Guzman. For March 27, Attorney Arellano, Mr. Casino, Mr. Miriano, and Neri Colmenares. So, see you again on Friday. Thank you once again to our candidates for Senator.
Thank you very much to all our senatorial candidates. I would like to thank you also for coming over and attending the forum.